channel. My name is Emily and my daughter Grace is 9 months old. I just put her down for a nap and I can't hear her. So I think she's asleep. So I thought today we could kind of sit down and have a really casual chat about some of the things you might want to throw in your Amazon cart or add to your registry to help you and your partner survive those first 12 weeks, or what they call the fourth trimester of bringing your baby home. I think it's a good idea to focus on that 3-month or 12-week mark when you're first getting supplies for your baby, because it helps you not to get as overwhelmed with all of the things, and two, I think it gives you some time to kind of get a sense of what your baby needs and what you need, rather than trying to procure everything that you might need for the first 6 months. That can be just a lot of stuff to store, and you honestly have no idea what you might need. So for example, I got a lot of breastfeeding gear, and my daughter decided to completely stop breastfeeding by the time she was 3 months old. So if I had waited a little bit longer to get all of that, we wouldn't have had that problem. Another thing I do want to mention is if you are going to make a registry, I think that Amazon is a really awesome option, mostly because, one, they have all of the things that you need. I think pretty much everything I have sitting in piles in front of me I could add to an Amazon cart right now. And two, they offer a completion discount. So if you don't get all of the things off of your registry, when you go to get the rest of the things, there's actually a discount, and I think that's up until 6 months in. I don't know, it's a really, really great deal. And then they also give you a diaper discount once you spend a certain amount on Amazon, and that's good for the whole first year. And we are still using that, and it's either 10 or 20% off of diapers, all diapers, which is really awesome because you're going to go through a lot of those. So overall, I think Amazon is a really awesome registry option. Also, if you do feel like you need to add some things to the list that you might not need during those first 12 weeks, Amazon is great because you can just kind of throw it on the list and wait. Because the delivery is so fast, you don't have to order all of these things at once. You can just have them on the registry. So, when it's 3 a.m. and you're super tired and you need that thing next day, you can just add it to your cart and it'll be there in, I don't know, however long your Prime shipping is. Okay, I had to change. It's really hot in here. So I thought that I could kind of break this down into categories so it was a little bit easier, mostly for me to remember, but also for you to kind of think as you go through. So the first thing I thought we could talk about was sleep, because at least for me, that was the thing I was most terrified of when I was pregnant. I wasn't afraid of labor, I was afraid of not sleeping. So anything I could get that someone said might be helpful in getting my baby to sleep, I was all over. So when you're thinking about newborn sleep, something that one of the classes that we took at the hospital recommended was just thinking about recreating the experience that your baby had in the womb, which made a lot of sense to me and I internalized pretty well. And basically when you think about where they had just come from, it's really cramped and they're super warm, and they hear a constant, really loud noise. They're right next to, I don't know, one of your veins in there, and it just sounds like whoosh, 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 whoosh. So if you take some of those elements, they're wrapped really tightly, there's a loud sound, it's really dark, all of those things. That's kind of what you want to recreate when you're trying to get your baby to go to sleep. So you're going to want to swaddle them up, you're going to want it to be really dark in the room, and you're going to want some loud sound. So probably the most expensive thing that we splurged on for the baby was the snoo, which maybe I'll drop here or here. But the snoo is pricey. There's no way around that, and I think a lot of people get scared by the price. But before you get freaked out, let me give you a little trick. So we actually bought the snoo used off of Marketplace for, I think, $650, something like that. And after my sister-in-law uses it, I could probably sell it on Facebook Marketplace for the exact same price. So check OfferUp, check Facebook Marketplace, see if you can find a used snoo, because that can be super, super cheap because you could buy it and then you could resell it since baby only uses it for about 6 months. But I would highly, highly recommend getting this new. It was worth every penny, just being able to, first of all, have the peace of mind that she was kind of straight jacketed down. She was coming from the ICN where we had a bunch of monitors on her, and I was a pretty anxious new mom, so I think that just having her strapped down to a bed made me feel really comfortable. But then it also rocked and made sound and shushed her, and especially for those first few weeks, I think that it made all of the difference in the world. And if she wasn't sleeping in the snoo, the other thing that she sort of took naps in, we didn't have her sleep in during the night, was the Snuggle Me, which the Snuggle Me is kind of like a pillow with a donut shape. I'll put a link in the description box. But we would swaddle her up and then set the Snuggle Me under the coffee table with a noise machine next to it, and that would be her second sleep setup. Speaking of noise machines, when we weren't using the snoo, this was the noise machine that we used. It's called the Hush, and it's actually a travel sleep noise machine, so we could also hook it onto her car seat and we still keep it there, but it makes a really calm sound, and for me it was my favorite noise machine because it didn't really bother me, and I think it's pretty cheap. It's like 20 bucks, so I would definitely recommend this. And honestly, if you just had a normal bassinet and you swaddle your baby and put this, that would probably work really well as well. Another thing that I don't have here with me, but I will link, is the blackout blinds that we use. I don't know what to call them. Basically, they're these large sheets of plastic that you can cut to the exact size of your window, and then you use Velcro to attach it. So it makes it perfectly black, which for us, if Grace could see us leaving, she would start crying. So having her room be perfectly black was actually a really, really big deal. So one of the things you're gonna get a lot of at baby showers and things like that are swaddle blankets, which are really pretty, but we did not find useful because our daughter was a total baby Houdini and would wrestle herself out of everything. So in desperation, what we actually did was we took one of the snoo sacks. I can't believe we did this. And we cut out this elastic band. And this band wraps around their little arms like that, and it holds it down. And so we would put this elastic band on her first and then swaddle her with the blanket, which seems like overkill in retrospect, but we were really tired. So if I was gonna do it again, I would probably just make this with some tight fabric and some Velcro, and then you can put it under all of those pretty swaddle blankets that you get, and it will actually keep your baby swaddled, because at least for us and a lot of my friends, a swaddle, they came out all over the place, and it really wasn't worth it. If you don't end up getting the snoo and you just go with another bassinet, that's totally fine. I can't speak to that, but I will say that the Happiest Baby swaddles, which I believe look a lot like this, but without the snoo clips. I think it's the Sleepy. I don't know, I'll look it up. I would still recommend this over a swaddle blanket because zippers in the middle of the night are just so much easier. No one wants to be wrapping anything at 3 a.m. And like I mentioned, it already comes with this elastic, so your call, but I would highly recommend. Okay, now the thing that I was probably the most excited about out of all of the baby gear that we got, which was baby clothes. And I had a long list of really cute clothes, and I couldn't wait to bring her home and wear them, and she wore none of them. So don't do like I did. Onesies, zippered onesies. These ones, my favorite ones, are from Old Navy, and they're my favorite because the zipper goes up from the bottom like this. So if you have to change them in the middle of the night, which you don't have to very often, but if you do, you don't have to completely undress them. You can just zip it up. In my opinion, don't get the ones with the buttons or the snaps. Nobody wants to deal with buttons or snaps at 2 in the morning. Zippers is about all you will have mental capacity for. The other nice thing that I like about these ones is they have these little folder cuffs, which when your baby first comes out, their nails can be really scratchy and hard. And when they're in their bed, they can kind of scratch their face, or just during the day in general. So it's nice, it keeps them warm, and you can just flip that little cuff over and then they're all contained. Don't get too hung up about the fact that your baby is just essentially in pajamas all day. For those first 12 weeks especially, they sleep every 2 or 3 hours. So if I slept every 2 or 3 hours, I would probably wear pajamas every day too. And if current me could go back in time and talk to past me, these are all I would buy. I would buy 3 in each size in really neutral colors so I could pass them on or use them for your future baby. Onesies. That's it. So the next category that I thought we could talk about was eating, which I may have a little bit of a different experience than a lot of other moms. In that when we brought Grace home from the ICN, she breastfed for a little bit and then went on a boob strike and never breastfed again. And so I'm still just pumping. I will hopefully do that only until she's 1, but I didn't breastfeed for a long time, so most of my recommendations are going to be more around pumping and bottle feeding than breastfeeding. However, I will say that this very awkward looking pillow, I'll put it on for you. It's called the My Breast Friend, and you basically snap it around you like this, and it has these weird lumps in it, and you position your baby and it helps them breastfeed. And there's this super handy pocket, and you can put stuff in it like a burp cloth or a nipple shield or whatever it is that you need. We still use it. We use it to give Grace her bottles on because she's still pretty little. And it comes with a really ugly cover, but they sell this really decent looking beige one on Amazon, and it makes it a lot better. So I would recommend getting the My Breast Friend and this less atrocious beige color. So as an exclusively pumping mom, this evil machine right here is by my side a lot. This is the Spectra something. I will figure it out. It's the one that doesn't have to be plugged into the wall in order for you to use it, so you can move it around. And this guy is really powerful. I used it both in the hospital, and even now I use it pretty much every morning when my milk is at its highest. But I would highly recommend this pump as someone who pumps 5 to 7 times a day. This guy is probably my #1 recommendation if you're only going to get 1 pump. Now, I purposefully said if you're only going to get 1 pump because the LV is probably the only reason I'm still giving my daughter breast milk. So it is pretty expensive. I think it was about 500 bucks, but as someone who pumps exclusively, it was really a game changer. Mostly because when you're pumping with a regular pump, you have this huge apparatus coming out of you, and that was really hard if I was trying to take care of Grace and pump at the same time, which happens because especially at first you're pumping every 2 or 3 hours during the day, and so not being able to hold your child or pick them up or do anything that you need to do while you're pumping can be a real bummer. So the LV just kind of slips in your bra. You do look like some kind of weird video game character, especially because it lights up. And Grace really likes it. She kind of goes, but it does let me go about my life while I pump. And I have taken these on road trips. I can pump when my brother-in-laws are over and it's only mildly awkward, as opposed to having to go shut myself in a closet with a regular pump. So if you are a mom who is going to be pumping a lot, I would highly recommend looking into the LV. I've heard good things about the Willow. I will say that the LV is not as powerful as my Spectra, and I would not use it by itself. I think my supply would dip a lot. So I would recommend getting the Spectra with your insurance credits, or you have insurance pay for the Spectra. They also don't normally pay for the LV, and then use that one at least half of the time, especially at first, until your milk supply is really settled, and then use the LV when you're out and about, or I let myself use it as a treat for my last 2 or 3 pumps because it's so much easier. This is the one that I feel pretty unqualified to talk about, but that is Bottles and Nibbles. We tried so many and I don't know what it is, but Grace is really particular, and these are literally the single-use preemie nipples that she had in the ICN. Well, not the exact ones, but similar ones we got on Amazon. She will only use these. She just tried all of the other ones she won't eat. So we still use these. Hopefully your baby uses something that's a little bit easier to acquire. And then we use the Even Flow bottles. No other real thoughts, but that's what we use. Because we have so many pump parts and bottle parts that we are washing and drying constantly, we have this drying rack out on the counter at all times. And I like this one. It's called the Boone Grass Rack, I think. And they have one in green, and that one's really easy to find at Target and stuff like that. But they have the white one, which, as someone who is aesthetically inclined, I couldn't stand looking at the green one for this one. That wouldn't have worked. So we have the white one, and then we have this weird little white tree thing, and that's what we balance random pump parts on at all the times. But yeah, the Boone Grass Rack. Kind of on the eating front are these burp cloths, which I got in a pack, I think, of 8 or 12 on Amazon, but they're just these white, thick, cotton washcloth looking things. We keep one in the pocket of the My Breast Friend because Grace dribbles a lot when she's eating, but we've also used them as like makeshift bibs, or we've used them as washcloths. I really didn't like the idea of buying specific burp cloths, but these are just probably good rags to have around, and I would have at least 10, I would say, because you're gonna have to wash them a lot. You're gonna do a lot of laundry in general, but having 10 is probably a good number. Okay, so we've covered sleeping, we've covered eating. Let's talk about diapers. This beautiful thing right here is the Kikaroo. I think this is the color Almond, and I love this thing. It looks so pretty on her little changing table. I honestly think it looks like some kind of contemporary art that my kid sometimes pees on. But yeah, the Kikaroo, it's really nice because if spills do happen, you can throw it in the shower. I can wipe it off with a Clorox wipe. It's really easy to keep clean, and it looks so much less atrocious than a lot of the other changing pads that I saw. As far as diapers, we use the Amazon brand, and because we did our Amazon registry, we get that diaper discount for the whole first year of Grace's life. And these Amazon brand diapers, I think they're called Mama Bear, I'll double check, are the cheapest ones that I could find on Amazon, and they're really good. I don't have any complaints as far as something that holds poop. It does its job. But these are really cheap, and with the diaper discount, they're even cheaper. You can do the little subscribe and save. I never remember to do that, but if you do that, they'll be even cheaper, but that's the brand of diapers. So wipes. This little guy is the OXO wipe holder. I'll look up the actual name, but it seems like a silly thing to have it. It's not a wipe warmer. I don't believe in that. It's literally just, well, it's kind of hard to shape. It's this weighted piece. This holds your diaper wipes, and this weighted piece holds it down so that you can grab the diaper wipe with one hand, which if you are holding 2 legs above poop in the other hand, being able to pull these out with one hand and also open it with one hand is key. You need this thing. 2 other things you might want to throw in your cart are some Aquaphor and some Desitin. It doesn't have to be Aquaphor, just some sort of thick barrier creator. This was a tip that they taught us in the ICN, which was basically to cover her bum with Aquaphor before we were finished with her diaper. Now we just do it overnight to prevent diaper rash, because basically it acts as a barrier between their skin and the poop or pee that's in the diaper. If your kiddo does get a diaper rash, which I think we've only had one, if you put Desitin on it, it's gone within like 12 to 24 hours. So I think it's really helpful to just have one tube on hand in case it happens, so you're not running out in the middle of the night to go find it. So Desitin. Another category that we can talk about is bath time. So again, similar to burp cloths, I was really confused about the whole idea of baby towels in general. I didn't understand why your baby needed a specific towel. They're just humans, so I can't use normal towels. You don't. You can totally use regular towels, but we only have 4 towels for my husband and I, so we ended up getting her some of her own. And I really like these ones. They're just plain white. They're like very similar muslin fabric to the burp cloths. And they're just white and they're thick and they come in a 2-pack. There's no hood, sad. But they're just super simple, and we've also used them as swaddle blankets or just picnic blankets in a pinch, but I feel like these will last her for a really long time. So the first time we bathed Grace was kind of a disaster. We put her in this little plastic tub that they gave her at the hospital to kind of store all of her bottles, I think. I don't even remember, but we had no idea how to bathe her. So we stuck her in this plastic tub in the shower, and I crawled in after her, and it was just a wet, slippery mess. Afterwards, we found out about this thing called the pooch, which again, I gave it to my sister-in-law because she gave it to us in the first place. So I will put a picture up of it, but it's basically this little folding tub that you sit in your sink, and then you can bathe your baby in there. So much easier. I really wouldn't try to bathe your baby in the bathtub when they first come home. They're just so little and small and you're so freaked out. In the sink is so much easier. You can be standing up, everyone feels more comfortable, and the nice thing about the pooch is that it folds flat, so you don't have to store this big clunky thing. You can actually just tuck it behind your shower door or something like that. For bath soap, honestly, I don't even have a recommendation for this, because while we started off using the Burt's Bees soap, now we just use Dove body wash or whatever it is that we have in the shower. So you can try using the Burt's Bees one or Johnson & Johnson. I think we tried that one too. But overall, I think you just have to try a couple of different washes and see if your kid has a reaction to it. And maybe you'll just be able to use regular body wash on them like we do. Just choose something unscented and gentle. So now that I'm on the mental train of things that we keep in the bathroom, I thought I would talk about a few others. One of them is a thermometer. So we actually have 2. This one is a touchless forehead one, and this one is just an under the tongue or under the armpit one that we got at the hospital. I'm mostly showing you both because I'm telling you not to get this one. When we go to use this one on Grace, even when she was little, she tries to follow it and it's almost impossible to get her temperature. So this old school guy, we just stick under her armpit for a few seconds and we're good to go. This is also more accurate, so I would not get this one, even though it's fancy and pretty. It's great for adults. Just get an old school one. I would also recommend getting a nose Frida. I think I was a little too into this when Grace first got home. Anytime she was crying and sounded kind of congested, I'd be like, oh, maybe she has boogers I should suck out. And that always honestly made her cry more. But it did make me feel really good the one time that she did get sick, knowing that we had some way to kind of clear it up, because it was harder for her to eat when her nose was stuffed up, just because babies breathe out of their nose when they're using their mouth to eat. So I feel like it's helpful to have. We don't use it a ton. Maybe we would if she got sick more, but I'm really glad that we have this on hand. Another thing that's really nice to just have is baby Tylenol, especially later when your baby starts teething. But in general, if your baby gets a fever, one of the first things the nurse is going to ask you is if you've given them any Tylenol to help lower their fever. So it's a nice thing to just have on hand in case. And I promise you'll probably end up using it when they're teething either way. The last thing in this bathroom category is a baby nail file. So I think I mentioned before that babies' nails can be really, really sharp, and they tend to scratch their faces, and it's really sad. And also you don't really feel super confident coming at your tiny infant with nail clippers. So I really like an electric nail file because you can just kind of buzz the nails off. This one was super cheap. It's so much less painful for everyone than trying to cut her nails with little clippers. So baby nail file. Okay, the last category that I'm going to talk about today are comforting items slash items that will help you when your baby won't stop crying. Either way, they'll comfort you and the baby. One of those is a Solly wrap or some kind of baby wrap. It's all in a tangle because I used it every day for hours. Honestly, Grace took most of her naps in this wrap for a good 2 or 3 months while I went on walks. And if I could get any of my friends one baby shower present, it would be this. For those first 3 months, I don't think there was anything that I used more, maybe diapers, but some sort of baby wrap. It doesn't have to be the Solly wrap. I like the Solly wrap because one, it came in a pretty color, and two, it's really soft. These guys also have a really good resale value, and in general with a lot of the things that I mentioned, like especially the more high-end things like the Kikaroo and the Snuggle Me and the Snoo and the Solly wrap, you can find a lot of those things on Facebook Marketplace, and then you can also resell them afterwards. And it's actually a lot easier to resell those things than some of the knockoffs, so overall you end up spending less money. Last, but definitely not least, are pacifiers. And we tried a couple of different ones once she came home. She used the Wubbanubs in the hospital, but I really quickly got annoyed with how often those fell out when she was back home because the stuffed animal kind of weighed it down. So we used the Bibs pacifiers, half because they're super lightweight. You can see they're just like very thin plastic, and the other half because they come in really pretty colors. And if I'm gonna stare at something in my kiddo's mouth for months on end, if it has like bears and bright colors on it, I'm just not gonna be about that. They are kind of expensive though. That really bugs me. It's like $30 for a pack of 4. So I don't know. If you're not really into it, I would get something cheaper, but the Bibs. All right, friends, I've mostly drank my LaCroix and I have a lot of baby gear to go put away, but I hope that that was helpful. I know that I did a lot of research and stressing before my baby came, thinking, do I have the right things? Am I forgetting something? And I think probably the most important thing to remember is that babies don't need things, they need you. These things that I showed you are more for you and your survival than for them. They need diapers and food, a safe place to sleep, and lots of love. So don't feel pressured to get all of these things, but if you are going through and trying to figure out what it is that you should get that might make things a little bit easier, these are some of the things that work for us. So cheers, happy Amazoning. See you next time.